Hello and all, welcome to another episode of MMA Vision Analysis. This one we're talking Ilia Topuria's comments on Michael Chandler. Interesting comments indeed. Before you get started, make sure to like, subscribe, click that notification to get all of this is new. From this channel, your channel, one and only MMA Vision Analysis. Ilia Topuria calls Michael Chandler a average level fighter. Now, is that actually the case? Is Michael Chandler truly an average level fighter? Or is it something else? What am I trying to say here? Is it game plan that makes fighters look the way they do? Is it lack of talent? Octagon IQ? What is it exactly that made Chandler look as bad as he's looked, especially in the Paddy Pimblett fight? I don't think I agree with Ilia Topuria, even though obviously the former champion of the featherweight division knows a thing or two about fighting that I'm not necessarily aware of, or obviously I've never been inside of the octagon, but generally speaking, calling Chandler a average level fighter, I just don't think there's any such thing as an average level fighter in the UFC. Let's start off there, right? I think that was pure display when Yair Rodriguez, who's ranked like number 6 or 5 or 6 in that featherweight division, absolutely destroyed Patricio Pitbull. That was, I understand, coming off of some losses in Bellator, but generally speaking, this guy was a double division champ. He was the man at some point in Bellator, right? It comes to the UFC, and he looks like an average fighter. So obviously Chandler is one of those guys that come from Bellator, but generally speaking, fighting at that level is the absolute highest level. So there's no such thing as an average. Maybe average amongst the elite of the world. Maybe there is some truth to that. But what I think contributed to Chandler looking the way that he did against Paddy Pimblett is the guy's game plan. I don't think he lacks skill. What I think is that he lacks proper strategy for this fight. The guy has one mode, and one mode only. It's almost as if Michael Chandler's opponents are operating in a three-dimensional world, and he's sometimes operating in a two-dimensional world, with all respect. So he's rushing forward, trying to overpower his opponents, and obviously you cannot do that with high-level fighters. I believe with better game plans, I'm talking, about his previous fights, Michael Chandler would have gotten better results than what he actually did. Now, I promise everyone listening that if Chandler was to defeat Oliveira the night where he faced him for the title, which he was very close to finishing Oliveira, if you remember that fight, right? Then people's criticism would not be as, I don't want to say disrespectful, but it wouldn't go as far as it has thus far. Obviously, the guy's record, 2-5, it doesn't help Chandler, and most certainly the Paddy Pimblett fight was not a close fight, but I don't think it's a problem with Michael Chandler. He's not, I wouldn't call him an average fighter. I would say that the game plan that he goes into this fight is a very average, almost really silly game plan. It's a very two-dimensional. It's not like whoever's coaching the guy is, I don't think, with all respect, they're not giving him proper instruction, so to say. Or he probably just doesn't listen. He probably just wants to rush forward and overpower his opponents, which you can't do that. You can do that with like 37, 38-year-old Tony Ferguson, right? But you're not going to be able to do that with a 30-year-old Paddy Pimblett, right? So I think that's what it is. I would not call Chandler an average fighter. If Chandler's an average fighter, then what does the number 13 say? Which the funny thing is, if I'm not mistaken, Paddy Pimblett was ranked like 10, 11, I think 13, if I'm not mistaken, prior to him facing Chandler. So it's all, I think it all depends on how you're looking at it. But I would not necessarily call Chandler a, quote, average fighter, right? That's very, I think that's, I mean, perhaps when you compare him to the very elite, then he looks like he's lacking something. And that thing, I think, is just a proper game plan, because I don't think he lacks physical attributes, nor does he lack skill, whether it be wrestling or striking. He has it all. It's just that he's too tough for his own good. Just like Volkanovski was too tough for his own good against Ilia Topuria himself, right? When Alexander swayed away from his game plan, which is dancing around his opponent and picking his shots, he fell short. And it happened in devastating fashion for him. Standing toe-to-toe with people, yes, you risk the chance of being knocked out. Look at Gagey, look at what happened to Volka against Ilia Topuria. And this could happen to anybody. It could happen to Ilia himself when he stands toe-to-toe with a striker who can potentially put him out. So I think game plan is where Michael Chandler's falling short. If you made it this far, I appreciate you for sticking around. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Like, subscribe for more.